Hey guys, it's Amanda. I'm an American living in the UK, so I post about my life and experiences living here, as well as these weekly reactions requested by all of you. So today I'm watching 13 etiquette rules in the US that surprise tourists. Have you ever visited the US and had something surprise you? Let me know in the comments. And also, if you have any recommendations for future videos, put them in the comments or head over to my Instagram and leave them there.
So our parents teach us to be polite, but what you learned as a kid doesn't always apply when you're in another part of the world. So if you're heading to the US anytime soon, I've got some tips for you on what we Americans consider the rules of etiquette and some stuff that's totally okay in the US that other countries might consider rude. Let's start off with my favorite, food etiquette. Number 1. Feel free to ask for some condiments. If you're eating out and your food is tasting a little bland, it's completely fine to ask for salt, pepper, or sauces to add a little zing to your meal. I know some places in Europe see it as an insult to the chef if you start adding a little spice of your own. But don't worry about that in the US. Nobody's going to be offended or give you weird looks if you ask the waiter for a bottle of ketchup. Even if you're at someone's house visiting, they won't see it as a jab to their culinary skills either. Some just like it spicier than others. Number 2.
Yeah, I can agree with that, to be fair. I mean, maybe if someone has made dinner for you, like and you're in their house, maybe you wouldn't necessarily ask them for sauces or salt and pepper straight away. But pretty much everyone I know asks for sauces or condiments when we're out in restaurants. Like, I've never felt weird about that. To be honest, they usually ask you before you even ask them. So I think that's kind of not really that true.
Always tip. Okay, well, maybe not always, but it's a rare occurrence if you don't tip your waiter, hairdresser, cab driver, and so on. And only if the service was really awful. But even then, a lot of Americans feel guilty about not leaving any tip. The rule is 15 to 20% of the bill. So get ready to do some mental math each time you eat out. I've heard that tipping isn't a thing in some countries, especially in East Asia, where restaurant staff always provide good service no matter what. But in the US, it's simply a sign of gratitude that your waiter did a good job, even though they're probably tired, their feet hurt, and they've got a bunch of other tables to tend to. Number 3. Clean up after.
Firstly, I wouldn't tip for bad service, and I certainly wouldn't feel bad or guilty about it. And also, it's worth mentioning, which I know I mentioned it in a few of my other videos, but Americans also tip waiters specifically because usually we get paid like $2.83 an hour. So tips make up the bulk of their actual pay, which is crazy. But yeah.
After yourself at fast food restaurants. Of course, if you're going to the States, I imagine a lot of your eating out will be done in fast food joints. You'll see a lot more of those than your traditional sit and be served by a waiter types of places. But anyways, if you're finished eating and your tray is now full of wrappers, used napkins, and empty boxes, take it to the trash can and dispose of the garbage yourself. Most fast food places don't have a separate cleaning staff for that. It's pretty much always the cashier that needs to find time between ringing people up to go clean up the dining area. So we try to help them out a bit and clean up after ourselves. Number 4. Open gifts immediately in front of the giver. Now, I was pretty surprised when I found out that opening a gift as soon as you get it is considered bad manners in certain parts of the world. I guess some cultures see it as kind of greedy when you start tearing into a present right away. In the US, it's pretty much the opposite. Open it as soon as you get it right in front of the giver. That way, they can see your reaction and you can thank them right there on the spot. There are also no rules about using both hands or a certain hand when giving or receiving a gift. Just grab it and open it already. Number 5. Be ready.
That one is so true. When I first moved here, I did find it a bit strange that if I received a gift, I would wait until I was home or the gift giver left to actually open it. Like, they'd rather open in private and then phone, send a text or email thanking whoever it was. Although, to be honest, I do actually prefer it that way. It just saves any awkwardness, doesn't it? Yeah, don't know. But I prefer it. So yeah, that is a very big difference. Most Americans would want you to open it right away so they could see your reaction, see if you like it. And they're just super excited about it.
For small talk. How about that game last night? Whew! When's this weather gonna let up already? Yes, Americans love small talk, so don't be surprised if a stranger just starts chatting with you while you're waiting in line or sharing an elevator. It could be sports, the weather, traffic, anything just to have a short, light conversation. I can't really say why we like talking to people we don't even know, but if you're sharing a space with someone, are you just going to totally ignore their presence? That'd be awkward. Oh yeah, and you'll get asked how you're doing a lot, even by strangers. It's usually waiters and cashiers that'll greet you with a, "Hi, how are you today?" Just answer with "Fine, and you?" Even if you're not exactly having a fantastic day. Number 6. Expect a lot of smiles. First of all, let me bust the myth that Americans constantly walk around smiling ear to ear. Nobody does that, because that'd be weird. But again, if you're sharing a space and making small talk with a stranger, or maybe someone opens or holds the door for you, they'll smile at you, and it's polite if you do the same. Cashiers and waiters also greet you with a big friendly smile. I read somewhere that this goes back to our early history as a country built by people who all spoke different languages. They didn't understand each other all that well, so they just smiled. But I still think we just like to be open and kind. Number 7. Respect the bubble. Now, here's a pretty funny thing about Americans. We're friendly, we love to chat, but we also really like our personal bubble. The unspoken rule is to stand about an arm's length away when you're talking with someone. We're also not too big on touching during conversation, because this can be misconstrued as a way of flirting. Of course, the rule doesn't apply with close friends and family, but still, even then, most Americans aren't too touchy-feely. Number 8. And
I don't know if that's true about Americans not being touchy-feely. I think we are. What's that? The Americans that I know personally, we are like that. We'll hug each other and high five and all that stuff. But yes, arm's length is pretty standard. Although most Brits I know would probably think even that was too close. So let me know in the comments how big the bubble should be.
Definitely no kissing. I know in countries like Spain and France, people often greet each other with a peck or two on the cheek. There might be some Americans who greet the European way, but overall, we don't kiss each other as a way to say hi. Again, my personal bubble is my sanctuary, so don't come in it with puckered lips ablazing. Mwah, mwah, mwah. It's best to just say hi, smile, and keep it at that. Number 9. Being loud is…
Yeah, I agree with that one as well, to be honest. I was thinking, as he was saying, I'm like, no, we do that, but it is just family, really. We'd greet family with a hug and a kiss on the cheek. Whereas here, it is friends as well. It's just it's a kiss on one cheek or both cheeks sometimes. But I do that all the time now. It's just normal to me. So when I go back home to visit, everyone will probably think I'm a weirdo because I'll be like, hiya, you all right?
Usually okay. The stereotype of the loud American tourist might ring true most of the time, since we tend to project our voices, even out in public. It's not that we're yelling all the time, but I'd say we certainly speak louder than people in Europe or Asia. I've gotten some friendly reminder to take it down a few decibels when visiting my friends abroad. But hey, if you're ever in the States, feel free to laugh out loud or get particularly animated while telling a joke. But of course, there's a time and place for that. You still have to hush down in places like libraries. Shh. Number 10. Indirectness is politeness.
I do feel like Americans are very animated. Like, I talk a lot with my hands. Like, my hands are always flying everywhere. And I don't even think about it. I can't help it. And most person I know don't really do that. So I think that might be just an American thing. But let me know. Maybe I just never really noticed. But yeah, I noticed it a lot because obviously I can see myself and I'm always like, hey. You guys probably like, just keep your hands down. I can't. It's literally impossible. See?
So here's the thing about Americans. A direct, no, I don't want or like that is seen as pretty rude. But if an American gives you a polite, no thanks, I'd rather not, or I don't think that's the best idea, that doesn't mean that they're on the fence about it. No means no, even if it's said indirectly and super politely. It's frowned upon to try and convince someone to do something or change their mind because it's seen as pushy and disrespectful to their wishes. Number 11. Sit in the back seat of a cab. Now this is something interesting I found out about Australia and New Zealand. There, it's considered rude to take the back seat of a cab because it's almost like you're showing that you expect to be chauffeured by someone who's lower than you. Well, don't worry about that in the US. In fact, you should ride in the back seat because the driver might give you a weird look otherwise. It's not an elitist thing, and you can still make friendly small talk from the back. Just respect the driver's personal bubble, that's all. Number 12. Feel free to keep your shoes on inside.
Hey, you're John Dutton, aren't you?
Just add.
Yep.
I had a friend from Russia recently ask me, why is it that in all American movies, people are walking around their house with their shoes on? And I just told him straight up, because that's what we do. Now, there are plenty of families here that don't have a no shoes indoors policy, although I'd say the majority don't. So here's a good rule of etiquette to live by if you ever visit an American's home. When you walk in, ask if you should take your shoes off at the door. If they say, nah, you're okay, don't feel bad about walking around their house in your shoes. I know it seems bizarre to most people around the world, but it's A-okay here. 13. It's okay to keep it casual. Overall, I'd say the biggest thing about Americans is that most of us are pretty casual and laid back. If you're ever out and about in the US, you'll see a lot of people running errands in sweatpants, gym shorts, baseball caps, and even their PJs. But it's not just about clothes either. We often keep it on a first-name basis, even with people that are generally referred to more formally in other countries. For example, most of the time your boss is just Jim or Janet, not Mr. or Mrs. Jones. You might start off more formally, but I guarantee you that that person will say right off the bat, hey, call me Jim. Now, what would be weird is if their name isn't Jim. Maybe it's Howard or Benny. Then what you say is, hey, call me a cab. So, are any of these Americanisms different or the same in your country? And to all my fellow Americans, can you add anything to the list?
So yeah, a lot of those I do agree with, to be fair. I mean, who doesn't like to be comfy all the time? I mean, I definitely won't wear pajamas out, but I like being company. Company? I like being company. But I think a lot of these really come down to the person. I mean, not all Americans will keep these rules, but I think the same with all of these videos. You know, even when I do my videos, these are just like generalizations. Obviously, you can't speak for every single person in the UK or every single person in the US. And obviously in this video, I was comparing my life in the US versus here. I can imagine it's very different in like China and Japan, etc. But the biggest differences in this video, I think, is probably opening gifts and the front seat of the cab. Because, I mean, that'd be really awkward if you do one thing and they expect something else. Like if you're hopping in the front seat and they're like, get in the back. Like, I mean, I couldn't imagine hopping in the front seat of the cab. I just think that is so weird. I would feel so awkward. But There you go. Everyone's different. And that's why the world is such a wonderful, amazing place. It really is. But let me know your thoughts on the video. And as always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, smash that like button if that's what you're into, and I'll see you in the next video.